Welcome to another edition of the Is Cavalier podcast powered by Mellow Seltzer. Go out and get you some, ladies and gentlemen. The link will be in the description. Tonight, our Cleveland Cavaliers took on the New York Knicks in a matchup that honestly feels like a budding rivalry. I can't be the only person that feels that way. Cleveland has kept the same core over these last 3+ seasons, while New York has kind of reshuffled the deck around Jalen Brunson with the likes of Karl-Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, and OG Anunoby, who made his return to the court after a 6-game absence. But we had a little bit of something for that ass, right? And by that, I mean Dean Wade. It was so fucking good to see Dean Wade back on the court just a day after Isaac Okoro made his return. The big wing had missed the Cavs' last 11 games and hadn't seen the court, frankly, since January 24th. He probably could have played prior to that, but we're in a position right now where we don't necessarily need Dean to be pressed into action early. We need this dude upright. We need him upright for April, May, June, and beyond. We need him healthy for the playoffs. But getting him back for a matchup of this magnitude, at least going in, was a big fucking deal. And I know I cannot be the only person that feels that way. Brunson kicked things off for New York, scoring, I think, their first 9 points, while Evan Mobley did much the same for the Cavs. He looked unstoppable early on, my friends. New York had no real answer for him, and that would continue all night long. It did not matter who defended Evan Mobley tonight. Precious Achiuwa, chopped liver. Karl-Anthony Towns, cooked. OG, oh no, it was bad. Nobody can handle this guy. Ditto for Jarrett Allen, right? Who scored 8 of his 10 points in the first quarter alone. And unfortunately, tonight couldn't be without at least 1 to 2 sour notes, as he would exit in the third with a right hand injury and was ruled out for the rest of the game. Thankfully, they did some x-rays, which came back negative. So it's not bad. Good news, I suppose, but you never want to see any of your players leave early. But this came in an absolute shellacking, an absolute ass whooping, belt to ass, whatever the fuck you want to say. It was a bad game for New York. So we could afford it, right? Nothing happened. Sounds like he's going to be okay, but we know with this team's injury woes throughout the years, we just want to keep everybody upright and healthy. But I got to admit, even on some of the baskets that Mobley and Allen had, a lot of them would not have been possible without the services of Max Strus, who we already know can be a quality playmaker. And that's exactly what he did tonight. This dude found the bigs on a number of looks tonight. This dude was just diamond folks up. He finished with a season high 8 assists, such a connective piece of tissue out there. His chemistry with both bigs in the pick and roll was highlighted to the highest order tonight. This was his 6th game of the season with at least 5 assists. So you know how big of a connective piece he can be, even when he's not knocking down shots, even when he's not somebody that's shooting with a high amount of volume out there. And tonight didn't feel that way after coming off of an absolute inefficient night against the Brooklyn Nets. He comes back and just gets guys involved. And I think that is one of the ways that Max Strus can help you. He can function as a connective piece of tissue for both the guards, but the other forwards out there too. And Evan Mobley or DeAndre Hunter or Jarrett Allen at center, right? He can do a lot of these things that bring these guys together. He can act as sort of a connective piece of tissue, whether that be operating the pick and roll or setting some DHOs out there and getting his own shot at times. But Max was pretty awesome tonight, and the ball movement in general via that pick and roll resulted in 7 first quarter dunks. Was if I'm not mistaken, they mentioned during the broadcast, was it tied for a 25-year-old record, right? Most dunks in the first quarter. It was literally a parade to the painted area. And honestly, I was here for it. I loved it, right? They had no answer for that shit. I think Cleveland had 26 points in the paint in the first quarter alone. Donovan Mitchell, right? Really, you can take your pick. Everybody was cooking tonight. It felt like absolute belt to ass. You can really take your pick of players that really put on a show tonight, whether that be Evan Mobley, who finished with 21, whether that be Donovan Mitchell, who absolutely cooked and finished with 27, whether that be Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter, 2 players we're going to talk about in a minute, who finished with a combined 35 points. These guys just absolutely dismantled New York, and I love it, right? Again, feels like a budding rivalry to me. Always got a little bit more energy, always get a little bit more hyped up whenever they're playing them. And then even down the stretch, right? You get minutes from Naquan Tomlin, who entered the game with 7 minutes and 29 seconds left, you guys. That should tell you everything you need to know. Now, on the stream yesterday, I said I just do not feel like Naquan's going to get in the game because these next couple of matchups are going to be fierce. They're going to be tightly contested against playoff caliber teams. And the Cavaliers, the next game against this Knicks team, who a lot of people still think are better than the Cavaliers for some fucking reason, get absolutely dismantled tonight by the Cavaliers. And Naquan gets in the game with 7 minutes and 29 seconds and scores some more points for our beloved Cleveland Cavaliers. Could not ask for a better night. Craig Porter Jr. drilling pull-up triples out there, finishing with 13 points. Man, oh man. This was one hell of a performance. And I get it. It's just one game. You never want to put too much stock in one victory. But the Cavaliers went out and they put on a statement. They made a statement, in my opinion. And that is exactly what we want to see against the New York Knicks of the world, against the Boston Celtics of the world, whoever else in the East that think they can fuck with the Cleveland Cavaliers. It ain't happening, especially at home. And that starts with your head of the snake here and Donovan Mitchell, 27 points tonight, 10 of 15 from the field, 5 of 7 from three-point range. This dude was just absolutely crushing the Knicks tonight. He got the inefficiency out of the way. We had some people complaining about that the other day against the Nets, but he got that shit out of the way in a tune-up game against those Nets. And tonight, he absolutely cut loose. He let loose on the Knicks and emptied the clip on these assholes, right? He knocked down triple after triple after triple after triple after triple. He just rained triples down on the Knicks. You just love to see it. Donovan Mitchell is a superstar. He is a superstar. He is a guy that these guys love to play with. And Donovan can get cooking in these. He's built for these primetime matchups. I don't care what anybody says out there. Donovan loves these types of games, especially playing against the Knicks, a team that for so long he was connected to, right? When they got Jalen Brunson, that became a little bit less of a possibility until Cleveland finally came in and snatched him up. And Donovan, I'm sure he is glad that he is with the Cavaliers and not the Knicks. Not to say the Knicks are a bad team, but Cleveland is just built better, right? You see these guys, these are two teams. Keep this in mind. These are two teams that are both coming off of back-to-backs tonight, right? The Knicks coming off of back-to-backs. The Cavaliers coming off the back-to-back after playing against the Brooklyn Nets last night. And you can tell clearly the energy levels are on two different tiers here, because for years and years and years, we know the story with Tom Thibodeau. He grinds his guys into the ground. Cleveland, on the other hand, while they have gone through their fair share of high minute totals throughout regular seasons during the JB Bickerstaff era, Kenny Atkinson has essentially just revamped the way that they play their rotation. The lasting words that always ring in my mind whenever I look at Kenny Atkinson, one of the biggest quotes that comes to mind for me is, "We are going to celebrate this team step." And this is exactly what this dude has done this season. The Cavaliers don't have one single player averaging over 32 minutes per game. Their minutes leader right now is Donovan Mitchell at 31.3. They only have 3 players averaging 30 plus minutes per game. That is Donovan Mitchell, that is Darius Garland with 30.2, and Evan Mobley with an exact 30 minutes. That should change again after tonight, after an absolute ass whooping that they handed the Knicks, where nobody played more than Donovan Mitchell's 26 minutes. Those are going to lower even more. While you look at the Knicks, right? You got Michael Bridges playing 29 minutes. You got Jalen Brunson playing 27. Karl Anthony Towns playing 28. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're the Cleveland Cavaliers and you put up 142 fucking points on the Knicks, on the second leg of a back-to-back, There are no excuses. I'm sorry. I don't want to hear anything good about the Knicks, right? This team is not. You can't trifle with the Cavaliers. You just can't. They're in a totally different tier. So anybody that feels like the Cleveland Cavaliers, Boston Celtics, and New York Knicks are the big three in the East, no. It's the Cavaliers, it's the Celtics, gap, then the Knicks. This is just there are levels to this, and the Cavaliers went out and made a statement and proved that side. That was absolutely phenomenal performance from our Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, seriously, you can pick and choose the performance that you want to see, and the highlights will show you everything that you need to know. Credit to some of these New York Knicks. We know that there are very talented individuals on that team, but at the end of the day, they just don't have the collective talent that this Cavs team has, right? When you're Craig Porter Jr. and you're dropping point after point after point on the Knicks, it just goes to show you this dude, Craig Porter Jr., is so good. He can't even crack the Cavs rotation because the team is so deep. But that's what you want. That's exactly what you want. It sucks for Craig, but at the end of the day, you want that just insane depth. You want to have that versatility. You want to be able to rest your guys down the stretch, and you want to have bodies to turn to in the event of a possible injury at any of your positions. And the Cavaliers, for the most part, it's not perfect. They still have at least one major hole. We all know what that is. True third big. Hopefully that is taken care of at some point down the stretches of the season. But at the end of the day, they're in a very good place from a depth standpoint, especially after acquiring Javonte Green to add to that wing group, especially even after acquiring Naquan Tomlin, who looks legit. I really honestly hope that Naquan Tomlin remains a Cleveland Cavalier. I see the vision with this dude. He has the size, he has the touch. He's a little raw, obviously, being a rookie. But I like a lot of what he brings to the table. He can space the floor. He can rebound. He's a solid defender. I'm sold. He's on a 10-day right now, but time will tell what they end up doing with this dude's contract, because honestly, I see the possibility of a really, really good rotational player. And I don't know how it's going to turn out, but to be able to reward him for the effort that he put in at the G League level, and then actually getting to see him play, I won't say meaningful minutes, but he entered at 7:29 tonight in the fourth. He got to play a substantial amount of minutes tonight, and he played 3 minutes the other night. He scored in both opportunities that he had, and I think that he has done some nice things out there in limited action, and I hope that trend continues over these next couple of games. They do still have some tough matchups. You got Dallas coming up. You have the Celtics coming up. But I still think that there are still some opportunities for Tomlin to see the court. But man, this was a perfect performance. And this is without even mentioning one of my favorite players of tonight, right? That, my friends, is recently acquired DeAndre Hunter. I want to point this out to you guys. DeAndre Hunter has now played 4 games in the wine and gold. In those 4 games, these are his numbers. 13.8 points, 2.5 rebounds, not the best on the glass, but it hasn't been required of him. So I can let that shit go. He's shooting 50% from the floor, and the biggest point of all, 61.9% from 3-point distance. This motherfucker has knocked down 13 triples on 21 attempts. He shot 75% from the free throw line. He is an insane 69.6% true shooting percentage. He is a total plus 25. He's done that in just 23.9 minutes per game, and he is 4-0 as a Cleveland Cavalier. Let's fucking go. This acquisition has paid dividends. Let's go. As Mr. King 562 says in the chat, DeAndre is filthy. Hell yeah. He was absolutely gunning, as B Skrill says in the chat. Whew, man, this is the type of acquisition that can pay off come the playoffs. Seriously, I think that is the vision. That is what you want to see from a DeAndre Hunter. And you know what? Playing for the Atlanta Hawks, no disrespect to them, no disrespect to that franchise. They have some talent over there. Our guys, Karis LeVert and George Niang, are a part of that organization now. But there are levels to this, as I said. And playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers is an entirely different thing. They have the insulation in terms of defense. DeAndre Hunter has not necessarily been spectacular on the defensive end, but he's shown some things to me that I think will play out nicely once he gets fully acclimated. And not to mention, you have that backline of defense in Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. I think that former defensive player of the year tenacity that he is capable of playing with will continue to shine. And I think come the postseason against teams like New York, against teams like Boston, he is going to come in so clutch. Seriously, I loved what I saw out of DeAndre tonight, whether it was the pull-up triples, whether it was the left-hand corner tray, whether it's the drives inside. He's starting to look more and more comfortable in the wine and gold, and that's about all I could ask out of him. And I referenced his name already, so I'll bring it up. Evan Mobley. Guys, do you realize how good Evan Mobley has been over his last 5 appearances? These are his numbers over his last 5 games. This dude is averaging 21.2 points, 10.6 rebounds, and 3.4 assists in his last 5 games. This dude has been absolutely phenomenal lately. He's done that in just 29.6 minutes per game. He's shooting 62.3% from the field. He is shooting 77.3% from the free throw line. Not great numbers from beyond the arc, but I'll live with that. True shooting percentage of 67.4, plus minus total of 23. Evan Mobley has been spectacular. There are often no answers for what Evan Mobley provides to this team if you're playing against him. Seriously, he's crafty out there. He had a number of finishes that just left you amazed for a man his size at 7+ foot. Whew. It's a good time to be a Cleveland Cavaliers fan. It truly is. Absolutely filthy work from just about everybody from top to bottom. And how can I not talk about what we got from Darius Garland? Look, I don't know what it is. Seriously, I do not know what the basketball gods beyond, but Darius Garland got hit in the head again tonight on a Jalen Brunson offensive foul, which subsequently was his 3rd foul of the game at the time. All 3 of those coming in the first half. And I swear to our Lord and Savior, I'm not sure I have ever seen a player get hit or take as much contact to the head or neck area as Darius Garland does. It is some uncanny shit. This motherfucker got whacked by Brunson and then immediately comes down the floor offensively and gets taken out almost by Karl-Anthony Towns. And frankly, I thought that shit needed to be reviewed as a possible potential flagrant foul. Maybe I'm overreacting a little bit, but man, I swear, DG cannot catch a fucking break. But indeed is as tough as nails. He left the game for a possession or 2 and then immediately said, I'm coming back in. He re-entered. But man, this guy, just as Mr. King 562 says down here, put him in bubble wrap. Yeah, put a mask on him, put a helmet on him. We need this guy healthy down the stretch. And I thought that it was a little uncalled for by Karl-Anthony Towns. But again, maybe I'm overreacting, just being a prisoner of the moment. But I'll just say this. Darius just gets whacked every single game, and I just don't understand how this continues to happen. Because it's not necessarily like he plays a play style that invites the contact all the time. It's just unreal. Like the foul that got called on Brunson for bloodying Darius Garland's mouth. I mean, that's not something that you can really quantify or that's not something that you can expect. It truly isn't. It just feels weird. It seriously just feels weird that we continuously see this happen to Darius Garland game in and game out. But luckily, he would finish the game and looks he looks okay. He looks all right. He'll be okay. Same thing with Jarrett Allen, left with the right hand injury in the 3rd quarter, but I think he'll be okay. One of the things that we saw tonight at one point was the long-awaited debut of one of the craziest lineups that Kenny has put out there this season, and that is Donovan Mitchell, Isaac Okoro, DeAndre Hunter, Dean Wade, and Evan Mobley, which, in my opinion, has insane defensive potential. Say what you want about the offensive prospects of that lineup. I know that there are really only one true ball handler in that lineup with Donovan Mitchell. But from a defensive standpoint, if you need a couple of stops down the stretch of a game, the potential from a defensive standpoint is incredible, especially come the postseason, where essentially I think you're going to see at least one variation of that in a playoff series. I would not rule it out. We didn't get it for long, as Sam Merrill, who we'll talk about in just a sec, Darius Garland and Jarrett Allen would enter the game, quickly taking over for some of these guys. But I think that lineup has some serious potential from a defensive standpoint. And you're not even factoring in like guys like Javonte Green, who is an A-plus perimeter defender, especially in isolation. um, there is a lot of potential from a defensive standpoint out of a lineup like that. And it's not even those aren't even all of the Cavaliers' best defenders, but it was nice to see Kenny kind of experimenting in a game where I was thinking coming in at the very least that it was going to be competitive. Lo and behold, it was an ass whooping. It was a serious ass whooping of the highest order. And I think we can all appreciate what we just witnessed tonight. Seriously. There was just so much. There was so much that happened tonight that I probably can't even touch base on all of it. But I was just very, very impressed from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Seriously, from top to bottom, from Max Strus's 5 points and 8 assists to Naquan Tomlin's 5 points, right? In just 7 minutes and 29 minutes. 7 minutes and 29 seconds of action. Everybody who entered tonight for the Cavaliers got to see the court, from Max, Evan, Jarrett, Donovan, Darius, Ty, DeAndre, Sam, Dean, Isaac, Craig Porter Jr., Tristan Thompson, Jalen Tyson, and Naquan Tomlin. Everybody got to play. Nobody played fewer than 7 minutes and 29 seconds of action. That is how you keep your players upright. So, Tom Thibodeau, please take some notes. And I know the only player who did not play for New York tonight was Tyler Kolek, but this was a blowout. Had this game been competitive, you probably see both of these teams not nearly go as deep into their bench, but Kenny Atkinson has earned the benefit of the doubt in that regard, consistently playing 10 to 11 deep now, with as deep as this rotation is. Tom Thibodeau, had this been a close game, you probably see Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns play close to 40 minutes, because that is just their MO over there. And that is how you wear your guys into the ground. That is how you wear your guys into the ground over there. And I just don't know how you keep up. Seriously, I do not know how you keep up with what the Cavaliers, when they're on, right? Because it wasn't perfect all the way around. There were some things tonight that weren't perfect. Darius Garland was just 2 of 12 from the field tonight, going 1 of 6 from the three-point line, but he was still a plus 25. He was actually the highest plus minus on the team tonight. Let that sink in. Our starting point guard was 2 of 12 from the field, but was still had the highest plus minus. That's because his play impacted in more ways than just simply field goals, right? He got his guys involved. He played pretty damn good defense out there tonight, and he managed to do so in just 25 minutes of action. The Cavaliers appear to have a game plan coming into this one, as I almost fucked up my camera here. They came in with a game plan to attack the interior of the Knicks defense. They still don't have Mitchell Robinson. That's a big loss for them. And you know what? This is not the same New York Knicks team that the Cavaliers faced 2 years ago, when they had Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle and Isaiah Hartenstein, who's over in OKC doing some big things. They don't have the same type of beef inside. Pause. They don't have the same type of interior presence that they do. They can still offensive rebound. And when Mitchell Robinson comes back, I expect that to get even better for them. But they just don't have the same type of size in the interior to go at teams the way that they once did. And that showed, as Cleveland absolutely dismantled them from inside the painted area. If I am not mistaken, the Cavaliers scored a grand total, and I'm not lying when I say this, they scored 66 points in the paint tonight to New York's 38. Again, they put up 142 total points. Almost half of that came inside the painted area. Seriously, that is insane to me. The Cavaliers, they shot that. I'm trying not to be too much, I'm trying not to give too much praise, because it is just one game, but holy fuck. right? 60.9% from the field, the Cavaliers shot tonight, including 51.4% from three-point range, 73.3% from the free throw line. The Cavaliers won in every regard in that fashion because New York shot just 47.2%, which isn't bad, but shooting 60.9%, that's like, holy shit. And then they shot 35.7% from three to Cleveland's 51.4%. And they were abysmal from the charity stripe, going 61.1% to Cleveland's 73.3%. Now, what I will say is that Cleveland was a little sloppy with the ball at times tonight. They did turn the ball over another 15 times, but I will live with that because New York, they upped the ante by turning the ball over 16 times. And what did that lead to, you might ask? They scored 22 points off of New York's 16 total turnovers. New York scored 18 points off of Cleveland's 15 turnovers. I love it. Now, at the end of the day, every game is not going to be as awesome as tonight's was. But when everything clicks for this team, it is a dangerous and scary sight for the opposition. Seriously. The Cavaliers just were clicking on all cylinders. They won the rebounding battle, if I'm not mistaken, 52-42. So chalk that up to a nice W because working on the glass, especially the offensive glass, has been something that's been biting the Cavaliers in the ass for a couple of seasons now. They won the battle on the offensive glass 11-9. Again, when Mitchell Robinson comes back, that's going to be a little bit tough, but Precious Achiuwa did pull down 5 offensive rebounds. Nobody on the Cavaliers had as many as 3, which sounds crazy. It coming from the guy that it came from. It was actually Craig Porter Jr. towards the end of the game. Grabbed 3 offensive rebounds, but it's not every day that you're going to see that. And getting everybody a fine allotment of minutes, it's just awesome. Seriously, it truly was an awesome performance from top to bottom. I hope I did not miss on anybody that performed well tonight, from Ty Jerome, who has just been absolutely, that's probably the one I did not speak on yet, right? The Virginia Cavalier, right? The duo of DeAndre Hunter and Ty Jerome. These guys, they combined for, what did I say, 35 points off the bench. Just absolutely phenomenal. Ty, when you really look at what he does, he's just so damn smooth out there. Whether he's putting the ball on the floor and putting opponents in some rather tough positions with the use of that floater, which is damn near unstoppable, or whether or not he is attempting to draw contact, which generally results in a foul call for him. He did that numerous times tonight. It's also quite monstrous from beyond the arc. When he came into the game, mind you, he came into the fucking game drilling 43% of his triples, which was the 7th highest mark in the league up to this point. He drilled many more tonight. Well, maybe not many. That's overdoing it. But he went 3 of 4 from 3-point range. That is 75%, obviously. So that mark is going to increase even further. You'll love to see that. And at this point, this guy has to, at the very least, be a finalist for the 6th Man of the Year award, right? I know he's already earned himself a fat payday, right? Hopefully with the Cavaliers. I know the Cavaliers, there aren't a lot of teams out there that could probably offer him potentially more than the Cavs can. There's an absolutely exceptional piece of content over on Fear the Fro podcast. He goes through Bob Schmidt, he covers that all. That's pretty awesome. So go check that out if you haven't. But the point is, Ty Jerome, I think he's going to be a Cleveland Cavalier for at least the next couple of seasons. And I hope that he gets the 6th Man of the Year recognition that he deserves, because he's been playing like a fucking all-star off the bench almost all season long. And that, mind you, again, you just added a guy who was in the top 3 for 6th Man of the Year odds in DeAndre Hunter. And DeAndre was phenomenal himself tonight, going for 16 points rather, on 6 of 7 from the field, including 4 of 4 from 3-point range. It was just awesome, man. It was awesome. Truly was. Anytime you can hand the New York Knickerbockers a loss, I take that as a W on a Friday night. Let's fucking go. Let's hop into the chat, shall we? A lot of comments here. JM says, love to see it. Absolutely do. Good start to the weekend. I hope you enjoyed it. Nate says Cavs in 4. Certainly feels like it could be a sweep if these 2 teams end up meeting. Jaguar 1964 says, love CBJ's minutes at the end, dominated. Again, this is a guy who on most other teams could be in a meaningful role. Yet the Cavaliers are so damn deep that he can't occupy a position. But that's a good thing for the Cavs. They have that depth. They have needed that depth. And hopefully they can continue that trend by acquiring a backup big at some point. I don't know what happens with Naquan Tomlin. Maybe they think Naquan Tomlin could be that guy. Who fucking knows? But I loved it, man. Richard Hacker says backups all looks good. Absolutely. Belt to ass. Nobody played fewer than 7 minutes and 29 seconds. You love that, including new guy Naquan Tomlin. Momo says belt to ass. Get that weak stuff out of here. To quote the old Austin Carr, the the public, the I'm on cloud 9 right now. Austin Carr is awesome, though. Austin Carr is awesome. Deca fam says, boom. Yeah, you love to see it. I miss the old me says, walk they ass the fuck down. Absolutely did. Yes, they did. Provided number one says, what a fucking game. I'm right there with you, man. I am right there with you. That was an absolute annihilation, right? Absolute just belt to ass dismantling of the New York Knicks. I miss the old me says Hunter fits in so nicely. I agree. 4-4 from 3-point range tonight. Almost went perfect from the field. If I'm not mistaken, he started a perfect 4-4 in the game tonight. And a lot of those attempts, they were pull-ups. Something that not a lot of people thought that he was capable of doing, but lo and behold, that's one of the best parts of his game. We know that he is a pretty damn good catch and shooter, but his pull-up game, especially from the 3-point line, has been one of his best attributes this year, or one of his best skills, should I say, this season. Now, without factoring in tonight's game, DeAndre Hunter is actually shooting 40.7% from the 3-point line on pull-up attempts. He's shooting 39.4% on catch and shoot opportunities. Obviously, the bulk of his attempts are coming via the catch and shoot triple, right? 5.1 attempts in that regard to just 1.4 pull-up attempts, but it's certainly within his game. As you see, 40.7%, and tonight will help up those percentages. Now, I think as time goes on, the wing creation aspect that I've mentioned on the last couple of streams, that to me, that is just as important, to have a big wing out there that can create offense when the defense is focused on Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell or Evan Mobley. Having that big ass wing out there that can create offense for themselves, that is almost just important, maybe even more important than having a big solid wing defender, because you got those on the roster. You have Dean Wade. He is capable of that. One thing Dean is not capable of is pulling up and dropping a tray on your ass, right? You just don't see that. It's all catch and shoot for Dean. It's all catch and shoot for Isaac Okoro. It's likely all catch and shoot for Javonte Green. You don't necessarily have that big wing that can create like that outside of DeAndre, and that's partially why he was acquired. Decafam also says New York fans crying in their beer. Absolutely. Nate says Mikal is not who they thought he was. They paid a lot of fucking they put a lot of compensation out there for Bridges. What was it? 5 first-round picks or some pick swaps? I can't fucking remember. But yeah, the price tag was a little hefty compared to what the Cavaliers paid for DeAndre Hunter. Props. Again, give Kobe Altman his flowers. Yes, I know it's just one game, but holy shit, the DeAndre Hunter experience has not been anything else than good so far. Again, I'm going to put these numbers right back up here. DeAndre Hunter in his first 4 games as a Cleveland Cavalier, 13.8 points, 2.5 rebounds, 61.9% from the from 3-point line, right? That's insane. 61.9%, 50% from the floor overall, 69.6% on true shooting percentage, and doing so in just 23.9 minutes per game. That is what I would call a steal. That is exactly what I would call a steal. That is Kobe Altman just doing the old Kobe Altman special where he goes out and he acquires these guys. And I can't say for nothing, right? I'm not going to call this a for nothing deal, obviously, like Jarrett Allen was, because it did cost you a real talent in Karis LeVert. And I know a lot of people are not going to agree with this, but I would consider George Niang a talent as well. Whether or not you feel he's one-dimensional or not, it actually, you paid a price to get DeAndre, but it wasn't not nearly as much as initially thought. They did not have to give up Jalen Tyson. They did not have to give up any picks or any first rounders, rather. So that is a phenomenal trade, and it's looked good. It's only been 4 games, just a 4-game sample size, but these are pretty damn good numbers for DeAndre Hunter. And as long as he can continue that level of play, hell, he don't have to shoot 60+% from 3-point distance. Give me 40 at least, 38, 39, 40. That's damn good. But what he offers you in the win creation in terms of the, being able to come up with his own shot, whether that be that pull up triple or driving inside and getting contact at the rim, getting points that way, or pulling up in the mid-range area. These are all things that DeAndre Hunter has proven he is capable of doing. And so you needed a guy like that on the roster. Seriously. Whew, man. Just awesome. One of the guys that I got to show a little bit of love tonight to is Sam Merrill. I will continue to shout this into the abyss, right? Scream it from the rooftops. Sam Merrill is an underrated defender. I know a lot of people don't love Sam Merrill as a rotation piece, but he's been a very good defender this year. And even if you don't feel like he's been somebody out there that that can impact the game on the defensive end, Sam has slowly but surely been somebody that you can trust to actually give you quality minutes, especially as a perimeter defender. Not necessarily somebody you're probably going to want to play big minutes in a playoff series, if at all. I don't know if Sam Merrill will be in the playoff rotation, but what I can tell you is that you can trust him to do some of these things out there that in previous seasons he might not have been capable of doing. And I think a lot of that has to do with Kenny Atkinson, obviously, but I've seen buy-in from Sam on the defensive side that I just frankly did not see last year. This year, from a perimeter standpoint on the defensive end, some areas look good, some areas don't. The perimeter isolation defense for Sam is not necessarily great. He is in the 36th percentile in that area, but 1 to 2 areas that he has excelled has been his on-ball screen navigation, where he is in the 97th percentile, got an A+ grade there, and is an off-ball chaser, 97th percentile there as well. He's pretty good. He's held up very, very well from a defensive standpoint. Not necessarily somebody that I think you're going to want to rely upon truly in a playoff setting, especially against a team with big wings like the Knicks or the Celtics. But I think that he proved that he can legitimately hold shit together. He can make some plays out there. And on the game tonight, in 17 minutes and 19 seconds of action, he would finish with 5 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. That's impact. Plus 13. That is impact. Sam does not always have to shoot a ton of 3-point shots to be an impactful, effective player. The same can be said for Max Strus. These guys are not just shooters. And I wish people would realize that. Seriously. See far too many comments in regards to Sam just being a shooter, or when his shot isn't falling, he doesn't deserve to be getting minutes. That shit is just funny to me because it's not even remotely close to be true. To being true. Mr. King 562 says, gotta stop Derek White in the playoffs. He always cooks us. Derek White is somebody that can absolutely hurt your defense, not just the Cavaliers. Derek White is a very good player. There's a reason, why the Celtics wanted him, right? Seriously. Derek White versus the Cavs, though, in the regular season is averaged 12.3 points, 3.6 assists, and 3.4 rebounds in 16 career games against the Cavs. Now, half of that was while he was still with the San Antonio Spurs, but he's been very good, right? Shooting 45.5% from the field overall, including 40.9% from 3-point range. Now, in the playoffs, we have to see what that actually looks like, because the Cavaliers, they've only played one series against this current iteration of the Boston Celtics. But in last year's playoffs, in those 5 games, he averaged 14 points, 4.4 assists, 4 rebounds, shots 38.1% from the floor, including 39% from 3-point range. So it wasn't perfect, but he was impactful. And one, he's got size. He's a big ass guard out there. Not necessarily somebody that I'm afraid of, but I certainly understand the sentiment, considering that the Cavaliers still roster an undersized starting backcourt in Donovan and Darius. And until those two prove people wrong in a playoff setting, they're always going to talk about how the Cavaliers can be schemed against and can be exploited on the defensive end, with both of those two being potential entry points into your defense. But considering the development and growth that we have seen from a number of players on the defensive end that are quite unexpected, Darius Garland is right up there. As I think I pointed this out on last night's stream, but I'll go ahead and share it with you all again in case you didn't get to listen to that one. Darius Garland has been a very good perimeter defender this year. You would not expect it. Now, where Sam Merrill has been awful in terms of perimeter isolation defense, Darius Garland has been phenomenal. Darius Garland is in the 87th percentile in perimeter isolation defense, receiving an A- grade. He is also very good at screen navigation, as it's uncanny. A lot of the Cavaliers are. That must be something that they're trying to make a point of emphasis. Their screen navigation, right? Their team defense, things of that nature. But his ball screen navigation is in the 79th percentile. His off-ball chaser defense is in the 100th fucking percentile, A+. And he can get in those passing lanes. He's in the 54th percentile, which is receiving a C+ grade for that. Darius has actually been a very good defender this year. Now, obviously, being 6'1", 6'2", wherever you look, these guys are listed at different heights. But the moral of the story, the point that I'm trying to make here is that Darius, despite being somebody that you can exploit in a particular matchup, is not necessarily chopped liver like he at one point once was. In the video that I put out about Darius being an underrated defender the other day, it would probably interest a lot of you to know that Darius Garland, despite being picked on numerous times by a team that the Cavaliers are likely to see in the playoffs, and Jason Tatum in the Boston Celtics, has actually held up very well in that type of matchup. Seriously, in the amount of games, and I'm going to say it's 15 regular season matchups that Darius has had against Jason Tatum, he has limited him to 18 of 44 from the field, including 3 of 10 from three-point range. I am no longer afraid of Darius Garland being targeted from a defensive standpoint. He has become a respectable defender in his own right. Seriously. Best outcome you probably could have hoped for Darius, who at one point, a lot of people were calling the worst player in the league, right? We all remember that. He has come such a long way. John Bontia says the Cavs' best games, Garland is barely involved. I don't know about that. I can't necessarily agree with that, but I definitely believe that there are certain performances where Darius is not necessarily needed, but he has been the focal point of the offense. He has basically been the Cavaliers. I don't think it's a stretch to call Darius quite possibly the Cavaliers' best player this season. He's functioned as that. I think there's certain points that you can probably make that case for Evan, Darius, or Donovan, but I don't know if I can go that far. Mr. King 562 says, let's just pray for health down the stretch. That is exactly what I'm hoping for. I think they now have at 46-10. What is that? I'm not good at math, right? 26 games left. Is that what we got? Nate says Allen going out hurts Garland a lot. Hopefully we'll get some news if we haven't already during the stream. Obviously, I'm not paying attention to that right now since I've been here with you guys, but I don't think we've heard anything. But I think Jarrett will be okay. Mr. King 562 also says DG locking shit down. Indeed, he is. Kirk Davis says, I hope DG is okay from that fall. That was a nasty fall. It absolutely was. Carl Anthony Towns can fuck off for that one. Nate says Cavs' ideal lineup versus certain teams is probably no Garland or Allen. I can't go that far. I think that it depends upon what you mean by ideal. Are you talking about a defensive based lineup? Is it something that if you're talking about you need a couple of stops in the closing stretches of a game? Again, that lineup that you saw out there with Donovan, Isaac, DeAndre, Dean, and Evan, that is certainly a lineup that they can put out there that can get a couple of stops. But from an offensive standpoint, there are clearly some drawbacks, right? You only have one true ball handler in that. That is in a playoff setting, you need guys who can score. As much as we want to talk about defense, you need guys who can score. And as much as people want to harp on the offensive rebounding woes, the rebounding woes in general in that Knicks series a couple seasons ago, or the Orlando Magic series, right? You need guys who can create. You need guys who can get their own offense. You need guys who can facilitate. Darius Garland is not going to be somebody they scheme off the floor in the closing stretches of the game. I just don't see that happening, but I'm no mind reader. I'm no fortune teller. Nate says allows them to go 5-ball offense and Spida can just cook. Yeah, but again, I certainly don't think they're going. I don't think with what we have seen from Darius Garland this year that they are going to certainly pull him out of the closing lineups. I just don't see that happening. I truly do not. B Scroll says might have to start Hunter for a few games. I think that what Kenny is ultimately going to do is likely go matchup based in the playoffs. I think right now, without having that true third big, you're truly reliant upon DeAndre Hunter and Dean Wade and Evan Mobley to essentially be your rotation there at power forward. And if you keep DeAndre coming off the bench, that's fine as long as you're giving him a high minute role, because you can stagger the minutes of all of these guys in such a way that everybody is filling a certain role. So I think it makes a lot of sense to both start him and keep him on the bench. I think there are caveats and pros and cons in both directions that they choose to go in, right? Nate says also Mobley is a tertiary playmaker. He can be. We have certainly seen that happen throughout stretches of this season. Again, over his last 5 games, he's averaging 4 assists. Phenomenal production from actually that shit just disappeared out of nowhere. I don't think it included the New York game. There it goes. He's averaging 3.4 assists over his last 5 games. There we go. I think I already had the graphic posted, but yeah, he is certainly somebody that's capable of making plays for others. So it's been a phenomenal development. Kirk Davis says, what's your take on, can't think of his name, but he played his first game in Brooklyn. I believe he got some potential. I believe you are referring to Naquan Tomlin. I like Naquan Tomlin. Naquan Tomlin, to me, at 6'10", with the massive wingspan, I think he has potential. He's 24 years old. He has a crazy story, right? Didn't play high school basketball at all. Played some JUCO college. I think Chipola, Monroe. There are some things in his history that point to me that seem to indicate that he is willing to work his ass off to get to where he wants to get to. And to me, that is commendable. And Naquan has earned every opportunity wherever stop he has been at, whether that be at the college level with Memphis or at the JUCO level, whether that be at the charge level, the G League level. He has definitely earned an opportunity to at least see what potential he has. Now, again, it's garbage minutes. So how much can you really glean from that? But at the end of the day, I think that some of the intangibles that he has out there, they can translate. And I love the size out there at 6'10". Whether they view him as a big ass wing or a 4 or 5, I don't know, but I certainly believe that he has potential. And I hope that they keep him in the organization to some capacity, whether that be it's an additional 10-way, or they convert one of the current 2-ways and give Naquan that freed up 2-way, or they convert Naquan's contract at the end of that 10-day contract to a standard deal. These are all avenues that they can explore, but I'm a believer in Naquan Tomlin. I like what he brings to the table. Mr. King 562 says, J.A. better bring his strip for the Cavs game. Strap. Oh, man. I'll tell you what. We was talking about Ja Morant. I'm sorry. I thought he was talking about Jarrett Allen for a moment. I was a little lost. It's been a good Friday, man. It's been a good Friday. It was such a phenomenal game from this Cavaliers team. Just an absolute shellacking, beat down, ass whooping, belt ass, whatever words you want to use to describe what happened in that game. It was good. As I always tell you guys, if you like to reach out to me, you know how you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to the It's Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot, etc. you to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you an invite. If you're watching or listening over on X, like I know a lot of you probably are, do your boy a favor, head over to YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber to the It's Cavalier podcast, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on a beat of Cavalier coverage. Now, for this Cleveland Cavaliers team, again, there are some tough matchups coming up, right? You got the Memphis Grizzlies, you have the Boston Celtics. It is by no means going to be easy. You got the Orlando Magic sandwiched in between those two. The Cavaliers will return to action on Sunday against that Grizzlies team. They got Orlando on Tuesday, the 25th, and then they have Boston, the big one, on February 28th. That's actually my daughter's birthday. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how available I will be for a post-game live stream. I'm going to try. Helps that it's at 7:30 and my kids will likely be in bed. But such a good stretch of basketball that this Cavaliers team is playing. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's game. Go Cavs.